is Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. So we're going to play with the latest iteration of very easy meditation. One moment, Jared wrote a lament. I'm going to respond to it briefly. So I think I'm going to tap button 8. And here we go. And now let us return and hit button 9. Okay. One moment, I must play you a tune on my nose. Oh, that's weird. What's going on here? I guess it's a lag. Never mind. Okay. So we're going to begin with the first phase of mindful crease counting. The luxury car of mindfulness and meditation traverses the smooth road afforded by Anu Yoga's energy work. There are many flavors of energy work. I feel the most efficient is mudra, or finger gesture oriented energy work. Having said that, we're going to gather our first of 4 collections of our right hand's 12 repetitions and our left hand's 12 sets. Allow me to show you how that works. Remember back in junior high when we first learned the first rule of bodybuilding, which is to practice multiple sets of reps. For instance, 3 sets of 10 reps. This is a similar idea. Over the span of 12 inhalations, we can advance our right thumb thusly, beginning with the little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's only going to take you a minute and a half. So if you want to practice for perhaps 15 minutes, you'll want to multiply this by 12. Enter the left hand, where we count 1, 2, 3 sets of 12 repetitions. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sets of 12 repetitions. But if you want to meditate for more than 15 minutes, perhaps for the better part of an hour, then we have to perform collections of 12 sets of 12 reps. And so for our first collection, to keep track of that, we're going to rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger, upon the tip of our left little finger in our lap, palms up. Whoops, wrong button. Doing so gently invites our subtle energies to coalesce in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. Now that we know what to do with our hands, what are we going to do with our mind? What if enlightenment was nothing magical, was nothing mystical, but was simply our mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? You see, as children, we are born without knowledge of how to use a toilet, or brush our teeth, or wash our hands, or tie our shoes, or ride a bike. But if we have a halfway decent childhood, we are taught those things, and after time and effort, eventually we get so good at those things that we're able to practice them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. we can also learn to practice the Buddha's Eightfold Path in that manner. Now I'd like to show you, there is a lot of confusion on this subject. I'd like to shed some light. Just as a single key can open a prison cell, similarly, simply mastering mindfulness and meditation can turn the mastery of the remaining six folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path into an inevitability. I would therefore like to begin this morning's live stream by reviewing the neuroscience of mindfulness and meditation after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. Since the Neolithic Revolution, the majority of humanity has been conditioned to habitually be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel, and to look down their noses and mock and deride the minority who strive to be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, even though that's what the Buddha endorsed. So, this 90% of humanity, when they teach mindfulness and meditation, they do so from a very, very rigid worldview. And so even when they are not being malicious, even when they are being sincere, they are imploring their students to actively focus and actively analyze. The only parts of our brain that are capable of performing these actions are the discrete neural pathways found in regions such as the medial prefrontal cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And by the way, I apologize for the primitive nature of these illustrations. When we overtrain this region, and it really doesn't take much, our almond-shaped and sized amygdala is triggered, which is the seat of both anxiety and aggression, which are the opposite goals most of us want from meditation. Most of us want their opposites, peace and love. And so it's darkly ironic that the majority of advice we get will give us the opposite results we desire. Good news. The majority of our central nervous system is comprised not of our amygdala and prefrontal cortex. Let us begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are already wired by evolution to automatically access our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way, to help us notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly, which I'm sure you can agree is the opposite of rigid concentration. But what is it that we are supposed to notice? We have evolved to notice mind's antics of perception. You know, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, such as emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Now that seems like a whole armful of stuff to do, kind of like chewing gum and while walking backwards. So, is there an easy way to do this? Yes. Silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during your inhalation. And not only will you practice the perception of mindfulness effortlessly, but you will interrupt the brain's habit of opposing our sympathetic nervous system and instead cause it to cooperate with it, which is fabulous. But what are we to do with all these things that we notice? It's kind of like being asked by Mother Nature to take a sip from a fire hose. Enter meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we have already evolved, been wired by evolution to automatically access our parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third and the upper third of that same spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release, to the point of causing what we perceived during our previous inhalation to fleetingly feel less defining, less permanent, and less solid, as non-graspable as if it was a vast empty void. Now, any English teacher worth the salt will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So we have to ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? The answer is quite simple. Excuse me. The illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could be tantalizing to the eye, is intangible to the hand. So before we move on, I need to do a quick edit, a second edit this morning, but okay. So now that we know what to do with our fingers, and so I've given you a lot of words, perhaps buried you alive under words. So let me essentialize this, wrapping it up with a big red bow. The key to mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. The key to meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. So together, as a team, let us apply this right now. Welcome to this morning's live stream. Briefly put, we're practicing mindfulness by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. And we are practicing meditation by silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist mindfulness, or Buddhist meditation, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. I need to write myself a quick note. So I'm going to take a moment to edit because this seems like a good time to do so, but I don't want to leave you in the dark, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch gears and tap button 8. I'm then going over to, let's see. I'm going to click a moment and gain access to Canva. And this will take a moment or two. I have to find the right thing to work with. Or not. Let's just go over here and hit window capture and find Canva. Let's see. This is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit make a copy. Now I'm going back up. And I'm going to hit open in a new tab. And now I am returning here to window capture and I'm going to click copy. Okay. That's exciting. Now let's rename this. 1, 2, 3. As impermanent and non-graspable as an empty sky. All right, we're going to hit download. Okay, I just closed that. I'm not sure where that's... Okay. So, I get to open that in Paint. File. Open. Let's go to Downloads. Well, that didn't work. Let's try that again. All right, and let's crop that. All right, let's hit crop and save and see if that gets the job done. So let's return to the task at hand, which is on button 9. So I'm going to hit the reveal the editing marks. Going to hit delete, and I'm going to hit insert from downloads. And see if I can't get that to fit. Well, that's exciting. At least it is to me. Let's hit copy. Cowabunga. Well, thank you for your being long-suffering. We come now to the second phase of mindful crease counting. We're going to keep track of our second of 4 collections of our right hand's 8 repetitions and our left hand's 8 sets. And allow me to baby walk you through that, or baby step you through the process. Over the span of 8 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb thusly, beginning with the little finger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if we multiply that by 8, we'll get 64. So in our left hand, we will count not repetitions, but sets. 1, 2 sets of 8 repetitions. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 8 repetitions. Now, how do we keep track of our second collection of 64 breaths? By resting the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger in our lap, palms up. Doing so gently invites our subtle energies to coalesce at the navel region of our mid-abdomen. Let's hit paste. So, by way of review, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Thus helping us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, thus helping us to release what we perceived during our previous inhalation, causing that which we perceive to feel as impermanent and non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although is dazzling to the eye is non-graspable to the hand. So come, let us practice together right now. Oh, I forgot to mention something. So, as I mentioned previously, the key to mastering is that as we master mindfulness and meditation, our mastery of the remaining 6 folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path becomes an inevitability. So, as we notice during our inhalation, impermanence becomes inescapable. We can't help but notice changes in our field of vision, changes to the sounds we experience, changes in the sensations we experience, changes in the flavors we experience, changes in the scents we experience, no less moment-to-moment changes in our emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Ever-changing, one and all, there is nothing permanent to grasp. Let's continue. So if you've just joined me, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, thus helping us to notice whatever comes up vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. We come now to the third phase of mindful crease counting. In an effort to keep track of our third of 4 collections, of our right hand's 8 repetitions and our left hand's 8 sets, we could count upon our fingers in the following manner. Over the span of 8 inhalations, we could articulate our right thumb thusly, beginning with the little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you wish to multiply that by 8 for a total of 64, we would introduce your left hand. And beginning with the little finger, 1, 2 sets of 8 repetitions, 3, 4 sets of 8 repetitions, 5, 6 sets of 8 repetitions, 7, 8 sets of, you guessed it, 8 repetitions. Now, we mentioned that this is our third collection, so we could keep track of that by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, upon the tip of our left middle finger, and then rest these 2 hands palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our subtle energies to coalesce in the heart region of our chest. Now that we know what to do with our fingers, let's explore what we can do with our mind. I've already given a lengthy explanation of mindfulness information this morning, so this is a short one to help you catch up, if that's okay. Let's hit paste. The most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, thus helping us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. What is the most efficient way to practice meditation? To silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation, thus helping us to release what we perceived during our previous inhalation, as if that which we perceived was now as impermanent and as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, any English teacher worth their salt would remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand? Now that we are up to speed, allow me to remind you that real quick, B-U-D-D-A-H-S. Okay, so the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more effortlessly we could master the remaining 6 folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Let's take a deeper look. So far we've looked at the first benefit of mindfulness and meditation, which is that it enhances our view of impermanence and emptiness. Let's look at our second and third benefits of working with or playing with mindfulness and meditation. Well, it's getting warm over here in Southern California. My goodness. So, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, perhaps once every 12 hours or so, the more we will calm the anxiety and aggression of our almond-shaped amygdala. And the more we will stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy and compassion and love. This is exactly why the late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love is not the product of the contrivances of focus or analysis, but actually the fruit, the spontaneous and uncontrived fruit of simply practicing, of simply noticing and releasing in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. Now, why is this empathy important? Well, besides the fact it's the difference between being a well-adjusted human being or suffering from a cluster B personality disorder. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is comprised of loving kindness, kind intention, kind communication, kind conduct, nonviolence, and kind commerce, being neither a Chad nor a Karen. So come together as a team. Let us meditate right now. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness, or meditation, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. We come now to the fourth and final phase of mindful crease counting, where we keep track of our fourth of 4 collections of our right hand's 8 repetitions and our left hand's 8 sets. Here's what that could look like. Over the duration of 8 inhalations, we could advance our right thumb thusly, beginning with the little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To multiply that by 8 for a total of 64, we could introduce our left hand and not count repetitions, but count sets of 8 repetitions. 1, 2 sets of 8 repetitions. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of 8 repetitions. Now, I mentioned that this is our 4th collection. So we keep track of our 4th collection, by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger in our lap, palms up. Thus gently inviting our subtle energies to coalesce upon the crown of our head. Now that we know what to do with our fingers, let us explore what to do with our mind. One moment. What if the essence of enlightenment was simply mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path? And one of the magic things, metaphorically speaking, about the Buddha's Eightfold Path is that by getting very good at mindfulness and meditation, our mastery of the remaining 6 folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path becomes an inevitability. We turn our attention now to the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, perhaps once every 12 hours or so, the more we will find that our choices and our utterances and our deeds begin to flow from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. Not scattered spontaneity, but centered spontaneity. This is the dynamo that turns our loving intention into actions that are truly beneficial to ourselves and others. So it would behoove us to get really sure what is meant by mindfulness and meditation. So let us review their practice right now. We already explored it in depth at the beginning of the live stream. But for anybody who's just straggling in, the key to mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, thus helping us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. Now, this can feel a trifle overwhelming. How are we to manage all that we notice? And that's where meditation comes in. Every time as we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we find ourselves releasing what we perceived during our inhalation to the point that what we perceived could feel as impermanent and as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Now, what's a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn? which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to our hand. And that is the essence of what was taught many centuries ago by the great South Indian Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna. That as we observe the dance of inhalation and exhalation, sights are appearing, yet non-graspable. Sounds are resounding, yet non-graspable. Sensations are sensual, yet non-graspable. Flavors are savory, yet non-graspable. Scents are fragrant or foul, yet non-graspable. And our emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings are lucid, yet non-graspable. Come, let us meditate together as a team right now. May we joyfully relax into the perfect imperfections of our Buddha nature. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 2 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to today's mid-morning meditation class and group practice. And, oopsie, wrong button. And if you are as geeky as me, may the force be with you always.